Good morning, everybody. Hope you're feeling all right. Welcome to the first of the sessions on our Start Strong campaign. I will start with sharing my screen for you to know what the content of this session will be. And obviously, we'll be waiting for some other participants to join us. But in the meantime, let me tell you about some of the technical things that you should be aware of while we run this session. At the bottom of your screen, you'll notice that there are several icons. The final button, the first button on the left, is the chat function. So you can use this to interact with the presenter, with me and the other attendees, but be sure to send your message to all panelists and attendees to ensure that the whole group can read your messages, okay? And as a reminder, please keep the chat focus on the session, okay? On the right, you will see a Q&A button. Please use this to ask me questions, and we will do our best to answer your question during this session. So hopefully we're ready to start now. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this live tutorial on MyELT, intended for lifetime, for first-time users. Thank you for joining us today. This is, my name is Sonia Giordano, by the way. I'm the Regional Customer Success Manager for National Geographic Learning in EMEA. I'm sure that we have teachers joining us from various countries today, so it's always good to know where you're based. So feel free to type in the chat box your country and city where you're based. Okay, so just to give you a short introduction, this webinar is going to last about 45 minutes. We don't wish to run over time, but if we did, as we are recording this session, if someone can make it until the very end, no problem, because we will be sharing the link to the recording through your local sales rep. Okay. So let's try again. Right. So as I said, this is the first of the 3-level live tutorials that we will be running to help you feel confident with MyELT, one of our platforms. The first session, as you can see here in the first icon with the yellow frame, is happening today. It's called Getting Started with MyELT, and is intended for basic users to help you get started with the platform. The second one, showing with this orange frame, will be called Making the Most Out of MyELT. This will be happening in 2 weeks, okay? So this is intended for intermediate users. And in that session, we will be telling you how to create assignments, how to track student progress, and how to create reports, okay? And finally, for those of you who would like to become experts on MyELT, there is the final session called Mastering MyELT with this green frame. And here we will be providing you with useful tips and guidance on how to plan your courses in advance and how to add more instructors to a course, okay? So make sure you register for all the other live tutorials as well to have a better understanding of the platform. So before we get started, I will quickly go through the agenda for the session with you. We're going to start with a short description of MyELT, and then we'll see why we should use a digital platform in ELT nowadays. We'll see how it can help you, the teachers, but also how it can help your students with the language learning. After that, we're gonna go live, and I'll showcase the basic steps you and your students need to know to get started with MyELT. So at the end of this session today, you'll know how to create a course and get your students to enroll in it, how to preview the content before creating assignments, something that you will learn to do in the next session, making the most out of MyELT. And also we will see how to communicate with your students, how to send messages from the platform. Okay? We'll also go through the student registration process so that you can have your students to self-register for MyELT, something that you can do together in class if you wish, in the classroom at the beginning of the course. It is very important to make sure that all your students are correctly enrolled in your course, right? Because this process is what will allow you to track their progress throughout the course, right? So we'll finish our session today with the Q&A. Okay, so let's get started. So we're gonna start with a short description of MyELT. Okay, let's describe what MyELT is, because there's so much we could say about it. Let's start talking about what this platform does and why you want to use it as part of your courses. MyELT is one of our virtual learning environments. It is fully interactive and it supports many of our best-selling titles. It was designed to do two things. First, to include practice activities for students to complete as homework, activities that are tied directly to the curriculum they are covering, they're following in the classroom at school, but sometimes with their students' book. Not always, okay, with the support of a printed component, but sometimes teachers can decide that their students should use the student's book in printed format and then this online workbook on MyELT. And number two, this platform was also designed to give teachers the opportunity to closely manage how students interact with the activities online and to track their progress if they want, right? Then it is a web-based learning management system, so it's not suitable for offline use. That is important. An internet connection is needed to use MyELT, and the platform can be used on multiple devices. Activities are accessible on a desktop or a tablet, but not on mobile phones. Okay. And finally, it's home to most of our titles, okay? So most of the online workbooks we have for secondary, adult general English, and academic skills titles. Just for you to know that you are in the right session today, I will share with you the list of titles for which you can have the online workbook on MyELT. So here it is. We have for secondary, we have Impact and Perspectives. Then for adults, we have Live Second Edition, Outcomes Second Edition, then Keynote, World English Third Edition, and My Tiny English, which is a fully online course. And then in terms of academic English and skills, you have Pathways, both strands, listening and speaking, and reading and writing, Reading Explorer, 21st Century Communication, and then Great Writing. Okay, so I assume that all the participants today are using some or at least one of these titles, so hopefully you will be in the right session. So the online workbook for all these titles is available on MyELT, and the only age groups that probably you will have noticed that don't have content on available on MyELT at the moment are pre-primary and primary. Okay, for those classrooms, for those titles, and for all our recently published titles, we have the online practice platform, which we'll talk about in depth in the live tutorials, in the webinars we'll be offering tomorrow and on Thursdays. Okay, so my colleagues Ellie and Alex will be running those sessions. So if you're using other titles by NGL and National Geographic Learning, like Our World, Look, Welcome to Our World, in Close Up, or Voices, I really encourage you to register and join us online for those live tutorials as well. Okay, I'll show you how you can register for them before we finish our session today. So let's go back to MyELT. Okay, and to better understand the basics about the platform, we'll quickly find the answer to these three questions: where, what, and how. Okay, first of all, where to find MyELT? Here is the URL, okay, which is the same for teachers and learners. Both teachers and learners can sign in from this link. Okay, what can be found on the MyELT online workbooks? So the activities in the online workbook are exactly the same as the ones included in the paper workbook, in the printed workbook. Okay, they are interactive, fully interactive, with embedded audio and video. Okay, you can see there's a star there because this is true for all our titles except for one of our adult series, Outcomes, which includes activities that reinforce the content in the student's book, but they are not exactly the same as those presented in the printed workbook. Okay? So, and how does it work? Well, with MyELT, students can individually access the online workbook tasks and complete them online. Their account can be set for self-study or instructor-led courses. Self-study is entirely autonomous learning, okay, with no teacher interaction or teacher grading. Well, when it's instructor-led, The teacher can set assignments and see students' progress, which is what we generally recommend. Okay, so the recommended path for all institutions would be to get students registered choosing the instructor-led mode, as we will see later on. Okay, with an instructor-led course, teachers can create assignments, monitor students' progress, see and export the results by running editable reports. And just to note that using instructor-led courses is the path we recommend. Okay, just I would like to highlight that because it's better for students and for teachers to use the platform to its full extent. Okay, so let's move on. And now, having said that, I would like you, based on what you have been told so far, either by your National Geographic Learning Sales rep or in the session today so far, I would like to talk about what your plans with MyELT are. May I ask you to kindly tell me how often you would like to use it for your courses this year? What are you planning to do with MyELT? You can just type your answer in the chat box. And don't worry if you're not sure yet, no problem. I guess that you're here today because you'd like to learn more about it. But are you thinking of using it as a supplementary part of your courses, as a compulsory part? What are your answers? Let's see. Feel free to type in the chat box, please. Okay, supplementary. Remember to write for everybody, not only for the presenter, so that everybody can see your answers. So some of you are thinking of using these resources as a supplementary part of the course, but remember that it's also a good tool to use on a daily basis, so for extra practice for your students. All right, so thank you for that. We'll move on. And let's see now some of the reasons why the use of a digital platform in ELT can help our learners in the context of distance learning. First of all, as a student, there is a freedom to learn when you want, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, where you want. Okay, so you can learn at home, in the library, how you want. Obviously, you can decide to use your computer or your tablet, and then most importantly, at the pace you want. So you can go through certain parts of the program more quickly or come back to others if you need revision. And that might be following the pace suggested by the teacher. That's why we recommend the teacher-led courses here, right? So in other words, it is the training that adapts to the learner and not the other way around. Okay, so let's talk about the benefits of using MyELT, but focusing on the student now, the student benefits. So first, you can see that it's ideal for all learning environments, no matter you're teaching online, fully online, or blended on a hybrid context. MyELT will be of great help to you. Then it provides individual learning opportunities for all students. Okay, no matter what their level is, you can adapt to their level by choosing activities that are suitable for them. It's easy access to, it provides easy access to the content for learners, as we have seen, multiple devices, and then obviously it helps students to improve their language proficiency. Okay, and obviously an important point as well, as part of National Geographic Learning, we care about the environment, so it's worth noting that using digital platforms and not printed workbooks at all times helps us to save paper. Okay, so and then focusing on the teacher benefits, and we will go through these linking them to the usual needs that teachers have. So the first three benefits as part of this webinar, we will cover them as part of this webinar today, is that as you have seen so far, it's easy, it provides easy access to courses, to the content, and to the class reports. And we will see this better when we go live in a minute. It's useful for a class for differentiation for mixability classes. So it's possible to set assignments for the whole group of students or just for specific students, which makes it ideal for mixability classes. And finally, it's easy to communicate with your students by sending messages from the platform, something that we will see today as well. And also with MyELT, teachers can choose from hundreds of pre-built online workbook exercises that can be assigned in a few quick and easy steps to the whole class, as I said, or to individual students to consolidate and reinforce classroom learning. Okay, you can set up assignments in advance if you wish to plan your lessons for the next term, the next semester, and it will help you save your time because the tasks are automatically graded. So the good news is that with MyELT, you won't have to correct your students' homework anymore, right? Then you can track individual progress, individual student progress and classroom progress with the use of the gradebook. And remember, these are features that we won't be seeing in the first session today, but in the next live tutorials, the one that is called Making the Most Out of MyELT. Okay, but I just wanted to go through all the benefits with you so that you know how important it is and what the benefits are. Then, apart from the gradebook, also in the gradebook, I mean, you can create individual and classroom gradebook, so classroom grade reports to run them, to save them, and to download them, right? And if you want to edit or work on them, that's possible as well. Print them out. And finally, you can collect spoken and written records. Okay, so you can listen to your student recordings, read their essays, and provide feedback where necessary. Okay, so as I said, all of these features, functionalities will be described in the next webinar. Okay, right. So without further ado, let's focus on the login screen, how you as teachers would log in, how your students would log in, and how you would navigate the platform. Okay, so this is the login screen. It's the same page for students and teachers. So you simply need to enter your username and password here. For those of you who have never used MyELT before and need an instructor account there, please reach out to your local NGL sales representative and we will be happy to assist you, right? I assume that if you're here today is because you've already decided that you will be using MyELT, so probably you've already been provided with your login credentials. So after the session today, feel free to practice and navigate what we have, and you will see what we will learn in the session. Okay, so in case you wish to help your students through go through the registration process to enroll in your courses, note that in this session today we will see how students can self-register, okay, and create an account. But there is a video tutorial here. This is the one that I'm referring to, also in the homepage, that provides step-by-step guidance for your students. So you can refer your students to it. And there are also other tutorials available as well. Okay, so we're gonna go live. Okay, so in the live session now, this is what we're gonna be covering. So we're gonna see what the platform looks like for you as teachers and how you can navigate it. We will see how to create a course and get your students to enroll in it. Then we'll see how to preview course content, the actual activities that your students can have access to, those that you will be able to assign as part of homework for them, if you wish. And then also how to communicate with your students, okay? Sending messages from the platform. And then I will guide you through the student registration process, something that is very important at the very beginning. As we said, it's important to get your students properly registered and enrolled in your courses so that you can track their progress and view what they're doing online. Okay, and finally, I will also show you from my student account what the student view is like, what they can see when they access MyELT. Okay, so let's get started. So these, hope you can see my screen now. This is the login page, as I told you, myelt.hiney.com. And from here, I'm gonna log in as a teacher with my credentials. And at the top, immediately you can see the menu there. We land on the dashboard, and you can see here that if you already have existing courses, they will appear here, like the one I have called Life Intermediate 2022. But hopefully, in your case, if you are first-time users, you will have realized that no courses are available yet. So the first thing that you need to do here is create a new course, right? So here's the option, the button we need to click on. I will do that. And then you have to give your course a name, okay? So I will call this Life Intermediate, and I will call it Group 2 because I already have Group 1. Okay, so there is no need to enter any other details if you don't wish. So the only required field is course name. Okay, but feel free to choose a start date. So I will choose start date being today and end date, let's say the end of the year. Okay, so and then there is the option of choosing an image for you to and for your students to differentiate your courses. So I will choose the dolphin. There are many pictures here that you can choose from. So I will stick to this one. Once you're happy with the name of the course, you see very straightforward course information, just writing the name, and if you wish start date and end date, you click on create course. And here immediately you get the most important thing you have to remember when helping your students to register, the course key. Okay, so this is the course key that you will need to provide your students with at the beginning of the course, okay? For them to be able to register in the platform and to correctly link their account to yours, okay? So you can just share this course key with your students, either in the classroom if you see them face to face, or by copying and pasting it into an email and just sharing it with your students, right? So this is here, and don't worry, because when you save the course and you exit, you will see that in the immediately in the dashboard, this is the course that you have created, and the course key is always available there. Okay, so you can refer to it and copy it. Also, if you click on the actual image or the title of the course, you can review the information for the course you have created. The course key is always there, okay? So you can always refer and go back to it if you create your courses at once, and then next time you want to recover this key, it will always be there. Then obviously it's a brand new course, so there are no students enrolled yet, and the start and end date. If for any reason you would like to modify these dates, you can come here to change course information, course image, and you have the possibility of changing those details, okay, updating them. Then something else that you would be able to do here, once your students have enrolled in this course, as we will see later on, okay, how they can enroll by using this course key, is emailing your course, so your students, okay. At the moment, obviously, there are no students there. So for you to know exactly how you can email students, I will show you the example of another course that I have created previously. So this is the list of courses that I have. So if you ever want to see the whole list of courses that you have available and you have created, you can go to the courses tab here, okay, from the dashboard, and you have access to your recently created courses, but then from courses you have the whole list of courses available. And then here you have the course keys for all the courses that you have created and the details for those as well. So it's possible to change these details from there. And you see, important email. So from here, I would be able to send an email and communicate with the students that have already enrolled in my course. And it's possible to do this by sending an email to all the students in the course, so to the whole class. So here, for example, I would say revision for next week, and just type something like, make sure you complete homework, and then I will send this email and they will get them. They will get it, or into individual students. Okay, so let's say I would like to send a message to Julia, and this is the only students that would get that message. Okay, this is one of the possible ways that you can send a message and communicate with your students. Another way you can do this is by going and clicking on the Students tab. Okay, so once your students have registered for MyELT, the list of their names will appear here under the Students tab. And it's possible to filter from this drop-down menu and select the course that you would like to view. For example, in the one that I have just created, obviously there are no students yet, but if I choose any of my other courses, you will see that I have access to the list with their names, usernames, email addresses. And from here, I can send an individual email, or I can send an email to all the students as well. Okay, so we've already seen how you can communicate with your students through the platform, right? So one more thing we need to cover, obviously, is how to preview the course content. Okay, so something that you may want to do is to see the activities, the content of the course exactly as your students will see it when they access the platform. And this can be done through the Resources tab. So in here, I have access to the various titles, okay? You won't have access to as many titles as I have. You would only have access to the titles that you're using, to the programs that you're using. So for example, in this case, if I'm using Live, second edition, intermediate, immediately I would have access to that and I can launch it, okay? There is a question there that I haven't seen. When you email all students, do they see everyone's email address? No, they don't. They just get the email directly to their individual address. Okay, so they don't see everybody else's addresses, right? There was a question in the chat box. Thank you. So yeah, so far I was telling you about how to access the resources, right? So remember, we have clicked on the title, and from here you get a new tab open, from which you have access to the menu of the whole list of the units available for Live Intermediate in this case, right? So if you're using Keynote or Pathways or Perspectives, that would be the same. Okay, it would be the case as well. So, and from here, it's very easy to access the content. You simply have to reveal the content of each unit by clicking on these drop-down menus, right? So, and from there, for example, if I'm Unit 2 and I would like to see the lessons there, these obviously follow the same structure in the students book for Live. So lesson A, lesson B, you can see all the skills being covered there until the very end where there is a review, right? So if I want to actually see and preview the content, I just click on one of those tasks. And from here, you can see what kind of activity it is and what it involves, okay, from your students. So here would be a drag and drop, and you can see that students cannot see the answers until they have submitted their own answers. So they need to complete the task and then submit their answers before they can actually see what the correct answers are. Okay, and from here, it's possible with these arrows on the right and on the left to circle and to move to go to the next activities so that you don't have to go back to the menu. Okay, so if you want to have a look at the various activities, so these are reading, some of them are typing, they involve typing. You can see here there's more than one item. And after the last item is where they get the submit button. Okay, let's move on to another section. This is grammar. It's choosing between the present perfect simple verbs in the article and identifying how many there are. And then the next one will involve typing, and some of them, as I said, it's about matching or putting some words in order, right? Whenever you have listening, or you have, for example, like this, which is voice recognition, you can see your students will, if they have a mic, they can record their voice and listen to first an example, okay? And they will have to answer that, and then they can listen to their own recordings. That's something that will feed into your account as a teacher, okay? So you will be able to provide feedback on their speaking exercises and also on their writing exercises. All the other tasks, apart from speaking and writing, are automatically graded by the system. So you won't have to correct them. You will see the feedback of what the students did and how many answers they got right and wrong. Okay, so as you can see here, another example is the drop down menu. Okay, so to move back, you can use this menu here, for example, going back to Unit 2, and from here directly choosing any of the activities. Okay, and so this is exactly what your students will be seeing. And from here, the purpose of you as a teacher of having this in your accounts is because it makes sense that you identify the activities that you would like to get them to do as part of homework. For example, after finishing a unit in class, and then you want them to complete the activities from home as homework. Okay, so you identify the activities that you would like to assign and then create an assignment. Remember, we won't be seeing how to create assignments today. That's something that we will see in the next live tutorial. Okay, right. So let's go back to the main page where we were. And just to recap, we have seen our dashboard where you have direct access to the courses, the recently created courses. And from here, you can see the title, the information, and the number of students enrolled. And if you want to create a new course, that's where you have to do it as well. And then courses, the whole list of your courses available, and the course key. Okay, so I would like you to remember about this, because in the next part of this session today, we will see how you can help your students to register, to self-register for MyELT. That's something that they should be doing on their own. And for that, they would need their course, this course key, which, as I said, will link their account as a student to your account. Okay, and we have also seen that the list of students is available here under the Students tab. And finally, we have covered the Resources tab, where you can access the course content and see the activities before creating assignments. Okay, right. So any questions so far? Any questions about the actual navigation for teachers? Let me check the chat box there. No. Okay, so far so good then. So let's go back to our presentation. And from here, I would like to tell you that so far we've covered steps 1 to 4. So in the next part of our session today, we will be covering the student registration process. Okay, so from the very beginning, remember, the very same homepage that you have used as a teacher, there is the option of creating an account for your students, right? So they should click there and click on student. Okay, select the student option. It's very straightforward, but it's easy for you to help them. So if you want to help them at the beginning of the course, it's easy for you to know how to do it. That's why we are covering it today. Okay, so they should click next then. And this is the most important steps, because in the content type steps, so they are taken to this screen, the first part of a 4-step process. And as I mentioned before, we recommend teacher-led courses, right? For teachers and students to be able to use the platform to its full extent. So at this point, they will have to select the instructor-led mode, okay? And in here, they will click next. Okay, if they selected the self-study, remember, you won't be able to see any of the progress on any of the activities that they complete online. Okay, there is a question there. Can the students answer to the teacher's email? Yeah, of course they can. Yeah, it's possible to communicate between. So communication between students and teachers is possible. We will see that when I show you the students' view, okay? How students can communicate with the teacher, and they can directly reply to the messages. Yes, good question, Francis. All right. So after selected the instructor-led option, remember the path that we recommend, because self-study would be fully autonomous learning. They click the next button and they are taken to the step number 2. In step number 2 is where they are prompted to enter 2 codes. The first one is the course key. The course key is, remember, the one that you will provide your students with. at the beginning of the course, right? It's the same key for all the students in your group, okay? So the key that you will provide them with is the course key, and they have to enter it there on the left. However, they also need to enter a content access code, and that's an individual code. The code that they will find on the inside front cover of their books. If they have a printed book, which the students work with online workbook, or a MyELT card, that code will be printed there. Also, sometimes it's hidden behind a scratch-off panel. So they get the code there. You see that it's long. It's got many characters, and they have to make sure that they type it correctly. Okay, so once they have entered those codes, they can click on next, and they are taken to step 3. And this is where students will set their account information. Okay, they need to choose a username, user ID, as you can see there, and a password. Okay, and these will be their login credentials to access the platform during the course. They also need to enter their email address, as that's where they will receive any messages sent by the teacher, right? Something that you were asking me is like whether they can reply. Of course, yeah, it's possible to reply. Okay, and all fields are required here. So all fields that you can see there are mandatory. Let me show you an example. So pre-entering fields there. So you can see I have entered a user ID, a password, an email address, and then chosen a security question. And then the next step, the second part of the form, students are prompted to enter their personal information. So they have to enter their first name, their last name, and their country. Okay. And finally, the last part is that they should read the agreement at the bottom of the page, select I agree, and click submit. Okay, once they've done that, this is the message they get confirming that they have successfully registered for MyELT and enrolled in the course, in your course. From that moment on, they will see, they will have access to all the assignments that you set for them, okay, and access all the resources on MyELT. Alternatively, the next time they wish to access MyELT, apart from starting, they can click there and start using MyELT directly. They will be taken to their dashboard. But alternatively, what I meant is that the next time that they wish to access MyELT, they can log in from the home page, right? As we have seen, the usual path, okay, with their username and password. So this is an example of what they will see on their dashboard. You can see that they don't have such a big menu as you have there. They directly have access to their resources. And in the dashboard, by default, they have access to 2 different views of the content. There's a question there. If the student forgot the password, can it be changed easily? Yes, they can recover the password from the home page. I will show you how to do that as well. Okay, so yes, it's possible to recover the password by clicking on the recover password link that is available on the home page, and then they are sent an email to recover their password. Okay, to choose another password. So I was saying that from the very beginning, when they access their dashboard, they have 2 different views of the content. They can see the course you have created. So this one, for example, is the one I have previously created. These are the views at the top. You have access to all, or you can select the icon there, which is the one that we will be recommending for your students. Okay, so they will have access to the course created by the instructor. As you can see here, there is an instructor linked to it. Yes, with the board and the teacher there. But they also have access to the activities of the course as self-study, which would be the image that you see on the right. To be able to view what they complete and track, and to be able to track their progress, you need to make sure that all your students access the content through the instructor-led resources. So through this path, okay, so the view teacher-led resources, okay, because if they completed the activities through the other access, through the self-study path, then you would unfortunately not be able to see what they're doing, okay? So now let's go live, and I will show you an example of what the student's view is like, what a student account is like. So I will log out sign out from my teacher account. So you see here, for those who were asking me about the forgot password, even if your students forgot their username, they can click here and they would be sent an email to recover their username, and the same for forgot password. Okay, so I will now sign in as a student from one of my student accounts, the final part of the session today. And you will see, as a student myself, I'm registered in more than one course, but hopefully you will remember the butterfly, the life intermediate course that we have seen before. Right, so here is where I can see that my teacher, Sonia, has created a course for me and has created some assignments. So as a student, clear, what I need to do, and that's what we recommend you to tell your students to do, is to select this view instructor-led resources, because that's where they will have access to the course and the assignments that the teacher creates for them, right? So in this case, these are the assignments and the tasks that I would need to complete, and this is how a student would take their activities online. Okay, as you can see, and then this is the similar view to the one we have seen for teachers before, right? So they would watch videos and they would submit their answers. Okay, so from there, also students can have access to the grades, their grades that for the activities that they have completed so far. Okay, so if they are enrolled in more than one course, they would just be able to choose and change from one course to another. But that's not generally the case, because in general, students are just enrolled in one course. Okay, right. So let's go back to our presentation. And now I will like to ask you if you have questions so far, because we're going to move on to the next and final part of this session today. I can see no questions in the chat box yet. So as I said, we're getting to the end of the session, and we can cover any questions also at the very end if you have them. But before we do that, I'd like to tell you about our brand new online hub, full of resources and onboarding support for teachers and for students using our platforms. It is in line with the features we have covered today. So those that we have covered today can be found here in the under the Getting Started section, and also those that will be described in the next webinars. Okay, and here it's also where you can register for the next live tutorials, as I told you, right? And I'm really encouraging you to click there, go to the live tutorials registration page, and make sure that you join us in the next section. Okay, so this site is also full of helpful documents, user guides, and video tutorials and other resources that will help you get started. Okay, then in terms of digital support, remember that the first thing you'll notice when you go to the main screen on MyELT is that there are these tutorials at the bottom, right, showing how students and teachers get set up with their accounts. And finally, for specific help and troubleshooting, you can refer to our support site. This is the link of the support site. It's help.eltngl.com. And if you click on instructor there, then you select MyELT. You will also find video tutorials, additional user guides, and frequently asked questions. As I said, this link is for troubleshooting in general. Okay, right. So we are getting to the end right on time, and we have a couple of minutes to answer your questions in case you have them. And for the sake of time, if we can't cover them, or if you can't think of any questions now, but once you start practicing, if you think of you have any doubts, feel free to reach out to your local sales representative, and we will be happy to assist you. Right. Double checking that there's nothing in the chat box. No, so we should be fine. So thank you very much, everybody, for your attention today. Hope you found it useful. Wishing you the best of luck with your courses this year, and looking forward to seeing you in our next live tutorials. Thank you. Thank you very much.